Who gets to claim Jalen Hurts? Oklahoma or Bama? The hook is not in my mouth. I am not going to get drawn into this. This has been possibly the dumbest sports debate of our time. It has made me miss MJ versus LeBron. It has made me long for Barry Bonds or Babe Ruth, which previously took the cake. But we got a dead serious, like knockdown, drag out social media fight in the streets right now about whether Oklahoma or Alabama should be able to claim Jalen Hurts, which quite frankly delves into conversation that makes me feel a little icky. How about this? How about I watched him play for both programs at a pretty high level. So if I were Oklahoma, you know what I'd do? I'd claim Jalen Hurts. And if I were Alabama, you know what I would do? I'd claim Jalen Hurts. And that's about the end of the debate. Now, if you're asking me which jersey do I see him in when I picture Jalen Hurts, I'd probably say Alabama. But it's not like I have forgotten what we're watching right now. It's not like I have ceased to remember what he did at Oklahoma that quite frankly vaulted him into position to be drafted where he was drafted. Anyway, that debate, if you want to call it that, notwithstanding, I did see some conversation gaining traction about how Jalen Hurts and Joe Burrow are interchangeable. What are you talking about? And then when I asked, what are you talking about? Some people came back and said, oh, Josh, think about it. Just think for a second. If Alabama claims Jalen Hurts, why wouldn't Ohio State claim Joe Burrow? Because 99.4% of the living, breathing American population has forgotten Joe Burrow ever existed at Ohio State. Everyone remembers Jalen Hurts at Alabama. The dude played like half a dozen title games down there. He won championships at Alabama. So that's why it's different. So anyway, I'm not going to get sucked into that. But what I did say the other day, when some of you were asking me about this, is I said, you know, the 2018 season, which culminated in the SEC championship game, where Jalen Hurts ended up coming in off the bench and beating Georgia, it's my favorite individual game memory that I've ever witnessed. And I've seen national championship games in person. I've basically any big game you've seen, we've been blessed enough to be on the sideline, front and center for it, over the better part of the last decade. But that 18 SEC championship game was something I'll never forget for a few reasons. Some of them you saw, and some of them you didn't get to see, but I did. So I'm going to tell you about them right now. But I do want to set the backstory, because everyone remembers Jalen Hurts, shutout, halftime, Saban benches him, he brings in Tua, second 26 to Devontae, Bama wins, white and crimson confetti falls all over Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Everyone remembers that. And everyone remembers the next year where Jalen Hurts has been on the bench all year, and then Tua gets hurt, and Jalen comes off the bench in the SEC championship game. And not only does he win the game, he looks like a better quarterback. He has worked his tail off the entire year under Steve Sarkisian and is an improved player, which I thought spoke volumes and volumes and volumes about his character. But there's that word character. And 2 points I want to make. One of them just came to me. I saw someone talking about this earlier today, and they're dead on the money. You know, a lot is made when guys get in trouble, when they're from broken homes, and everyone wants to talk about the absence of a male role model or a father figure. And I'm there for you if you're making that point in the right spirit. But I also think you should be just as front and center when you've got a phenomenal upbringing. And not only do you have a coach's son, but you've just got a model parenting job that's been done. And you've got a guy who reflects a strong male role model in his father, and that's Jalen Hurts. When you listen to him talk, when you watch the way he carries himself, understand that's not by accident. And it didn't just start when he went to the University of Alabama or Oklahoma either. So for everyone who wants to point out the negative side of that coin, just make sure you're there to point out the positive side. Anyway, that notwithstanding, there was a little situation, wasn't there? After that 2017 Tua to Devontae moment, Jalen Hurts didn't graduate and go to the NFL. He had a decision to make. And this is where my memory goes when I think about Jalen Hurts. The year was 2018. The month was August. I want to say it was like August 5th. It was right at the beginning of fall camp. Everyone and their mother, including me, thought that Jalen Hurts was going to have long transferred away from Alabama. Because Tua's the starter, right? And so you're going to transfer. Now, this is kind of pre-transfer portal era, but it wasn't unheard of for guys to be transferring. So everyone thinks Jalen Hurts is going to transfer. Here's the thing, though. No one asked Jalen Hurts, and that was his message. Come fan day in 2018, right as Bama's open in fall camp, Jalen Hurts has not said a word all summer. They go through spring ball. They go through summer conditioning. He hadn't said a word, hadn't posted hardly anything on social media, and reporters get access to him on that August afternoon right there in Bryant-Denny Stadium. And he basically held like a 30-minute impromptu press conference. And he said some things that really rubbed Bama fans the wrong way at the time. But he just spoke his mind. He had some things on his heart. He was respectful as can be about it. But he said, everyone thought I was leaving. And maybe even the coaching staff thought I was leaving. No one asked me how I felt. And that includes the coaching staff. He said, no one asked me how I felt. And I hadn't said anything about it. I've tried to stay above board. But essentially what he was saying is a lot of folks wanted to put words in my mouth. They wanted to assume what I was going to do, and no one ever checked with me. And then he said, there's been an elephant in the room the whole time. Ever since he hit that pass to Devontae Smith, he said, there's been an elephant in the room. People wanted to pretend like it didn't exist, and this was a video game. It's real life. I want that starting job. He took the starting job from me. I want to have it, is what he's saying. I'm ready to be a model citizen, but I want to be the starting quarterback at Alabama, and I don't have that right now. And so he was venting some frustration. I appreciated it because he's just a competitor. And truthfully, I think Nick Saban appreciated it. With that in mind, now I want you to remember 2018. Tua starts. I think he went virtually wire to wire. There may have been some minor injury concerns, but it was Tua's team in 2018 until we got to Atlanta and the SEC championship game's happening. And Tua goes down. Jalen Hurts comes off the bench. Now hit the play button. Jalen Hurts does everything you remember him doing. Jalen Hurts wins it. He has a dramatic fourth quarter comeback, takes the lead against Georgia. There's a Hail Mary at the end. Bama knocks it down. I'm standing like 10 yards from it. And place goes crazy. The post-game scene on the field was as memorable as anything you'll see, I think, in major college football, because Jamie Erdahl, who was sideline reporter for CBS at the time, she goes and grabs Nick Saban. She grabs Jalen Hurts. And Saban he's got tears in his eyes. And he's crying. And he's sitting there with his arm around Jalen Hurts because he knew, I think, that he was seeing the last of a dying breed. And that is a guy who has potential to be a high-caliber starting quarterback, sticking around when he's not the starting quarterback and being a model teammate the entire time. And it's almost like he looked at it and had appreciation for him as way more than a football player by that point. Now, if you were close to the program, you were already picking up on that. But I think nationally, people were shocked. All people knew about Nick Saban's relationship with Jalen Hurts nationally was he benched him in the title game. And by the way, good for Nick Saban, but boy, man, I don't know. How can Jalen Hurts like that guy? How can there be any strong relationship or bond? Understand competition, and you understand how there can be. You fast forward to that moment, Nick Saban's fighting back tears. That's what you saw on TV. The reason it sticks with me is because I walked with him right off the field. I walked with him right up the tunnel. And once the head coach at the University of Alabama knew that he was out of sight from cameras and out of sight from media and fans, you want to see emotion get turned loose. You should have been standing next to me. You should have seen what I got to see up that tunnel. I'll never forget it. It's one of the most vivid memories that I have in my relatively short time covering college football relative to what some people have been able to do. Never seen Nick Saban like that before or since. Never seen anything like it. And so that team didn't even go on to win the national championship, but that moment in time and seeing kind of on the field, but then really seeing off the field what the bond was like between those two, how much that player meant to Nick Saban, you struggle to put it into words because really he couldn't even put them into words. And then behind the scenes, I think part of the reason Jalen Hurts has such appreciation for both of these programs, including the one he left, is because on the Alabama side of things, afterwards, everything that could possibly be done to facilitate his exit to a prime position like Oklahoma was done. And I don't think you'll see that very often down the road. I'm not saying you'll never see it. I said last of a dying breed. I don't know that we'll never see a player like Jalen Hurts, but there's a reason people are making such a big deal about him. There's a reason I continue to make such a big deal about him. And there's a reason why you got two major brands fighting over who gets to claim him. It's because he really is that good. And you want someone to look up to. You got a little kiddo at home. You want to try and find one of those role model pro athletes. That quarterback in Philadelphia is a pretty good place to start. Guys, thanks for watching Late Kick. Make sure and leave a comment. I love interacting with you. But most of all, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. That's how we keep all of this free.